Welcome to the Stronger Marriage Podcast with Trey and Lee. We are finishing up a series of 3 episodes. Today's episode is a big one. It's called 10 Ways to Rebuild Trust After There's Been a Porn Problem in Your Marriage.
Welcome to the Stronger Marriage Podcast with Trey and Lee. On this podcast, you'll hear real topics about real life. They cover everything from married sex to raising kids to loving your spouse so much that you're willing to forgive them for occasionally being the most annoying person in the world. Trey and Lee have raised 4 boys, been married over 30 years, and somehow still really like each other. And now, live from the metropolis of Childress, Texas, a place so flat you can watch your dog run away for 3 days. Here are your hosts for the Stronger Marriage Podcast, Trey and Lee Morgan.
Hey everybody, glad you joined us this week.
Glad you're here. We are finishing up the last of a series of 3 podcasts that haven't been just a whole lot of fun to talk about. These aren't fun topics, but they've needed to be discussed.
Yes. We did a part 1 about how porn hurts your marriage. And last week we did part 2, how to protect yourself from it. And this week we're going to be talking about 10 ways to rebuild trust.
Yeah. So what we're talking about is, if you're listening to this, we may have sent you a link because we get a lot of messages sometimes. What do I do? My spouse is watching porn. I'm hurt. I don't know what to do, what to think, and so we're going to give you about 10 steps that we think may help rebuild some trust. And this will require not just the innocent party listening to this, but also the guilty party, and being willing to participate in these steps to help recover after there's been a porn problem. And so, because we do have 10, let's get rolling on this so we're not here all day long. We are headed to, real quickly, we always throw in a quick announcement, headed to Kentucky this weekend. Mm-hmm. We're excited about that. Looking forward to seeing all the Henderson, Kentucky folks in the area. And it's going to be a good weekend. It's a Saturday workshop from... we'll start at 9, be finished about 3 o'clock. We're excited about seeing a different part of the country. We have not been to northern Kentucky, so we're excited about that.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
Yeah, so kick us off. So we're talking 10 things. We're going to try to lay these out. We'll also try to include these on the notes in this podcast episode. And I will remind you, and this is a good time to do it, we will have these available on a PDF. If you want to email us at traymorgan@msn.com, traymorgan@msn.com, we will email you these little notes so you can go through them with your spouse. So take off. Let's talk about the 10 things, and these are kind of in order of kind of what you need to do first and foremost.
Yes, so first and foremost, you need to stop lying and be honest in everything. You've betrayed your partner's trust, and you're just going to add insult to injury if you continue to lie and twist and hide and deny.
Come clean.
Yeah, just come clean.
Best thing you can do. You can't go, hey, this was a one-time deal, or hey, this has only been an issue for the last 2 months, and then 2 weeks later they find out it's been the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. So you just need to come clean and take up the challenge of being honest on all levels. It is really the only way to reclaim your integrity, mm-hmm. your trust. There is to provide the complete story up front and voluntary, and that confession is a major step to restoring trust. Sometimes I'm sure women do this too, but I'm speaking from a man's standpoint because I am a man. Sometimes men think, and it's probably everybody, you just think, I don't want to give all the details because it will hurt my spouse. Mm-hmm. And what they may need to do, as we'll talk about it in a minute, is they may need to know, they just need you to be honest.
That's right. We talk about that in our workshops, the different kinds of ways people lie, and protective lying is one of the ways that, people think that they're doing their spouse a favor by protecting them from something that's going to hurt their feelings. But as we always say, the truth always has a way of coming out. It just always does. And you cause more issues if you're not upfront from the very beginning. So just, yes, a voluntary confession is huge. When you just say, here it is, I'm going to lay it all out there.
Going to come clean.
It's going to be hard to hear, but here it is. When you're completely honest, that is a step in the right direction, and your spouse can see that you're trying to do what's right.
Yeah, that's true. Number 2, once you've done that, you're going, okay, so what do I do next? The next thing you've got to do is you've got to completely cut off this issue. Completely stop with the pornography. Stay away from anything that draws you towards it.
If you're looking at Instagram and you see something on there that gets you to start wanting to look at more, then you need to delete your Instagram app. I mean, that's just as simple as that. If it's a temptation to you, just get rid of it.
Yeah.
You may not be able to quit using the internet completely, or get rid of your entire phone or whatever it is, but you can delete saved videos and bookmarks and certain websites. You got to start with the things that you can actually control and avoid giving in to the urges.
Yeah. If you're following someone on social media that triggers something, you need to unfollow that person. You probably need to block that person so you can't find them again. And then you need to focus that energy on something else. You're sitting there and you got time and you're thinking, man, this is generally the time where I've watched some porn. Go play with your kids. Go work in the garage. Go in the bedroom and read a book.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Watch some sports. Play some sports.
Yeah, watch it. Turn on a movie. Diversion is a great way to help to get your mind off of things. And it'll be tough at first, but it is possible. But you've got to cut it. You got to cut it off completely. There is no more dabbling. So you're going to stop lying, strive for honesty, and cut it off. That's kind of your first 2 steps that you've got to take.
Yeah. The third one is to take complete responsibility for your mistakes. And catch that. It was a mistake.
Wasn't an accident.
It wasn't an accident.
Yeah.
Watching porn was 100% a choice, not an accident. Now, I will say that a lot of children these days are coming across porn sites by accident because it's just in their face, which can lead to, sadly, addictions. But, once they've been exposed, then they're making the choice. From then on, they're making the choice. Do I look for this again? Or do I go, I need to stay away, completely from that. So at some point it became a choice.
Yeah. Accept that you made a mistake. Admit that to your spouse. And even if your partner is guilty of many mistakes of his or her own doing, you do not blame your partner for this because this is something you chose to do.
That's right.
There may have been times where you go, well, I'm mad at my spouse, so I'll go watch pornography. Or, things aren't going well in the bedroom, so I'll go watch pornography. You made that choice. You cannot blame your partner for a choice that you made.
Mm-hmm. That is true. The fourth thing you want to do is to answer questions.
And we kind of talked about this back in Stop Completely, but just real quickly.
This goes along with honesty.
It goes along with honesty, and it goes along with betrayal, and it goes along with trying to protect your spouse. It is extremely difficult for a betrayed partner to know you've been watching porn. Your partner may want lots of details of when and why and all that sort of stuff. You answer them. Give them answers if that's what they want.
Ranger is needing to be heard today for some reason. He's usually so quiet when we do this.
You get Trey and Lee live and in person. We don't
Ranger
sometimes. We don't do retakes.
Ranger.
If the doorbell rings or a phone goes off, sorry. Welcome to the Morgan House.
Real life. We do real life here.
Yep, that's exactly right. There's nothing fancy about us. So
Yes.
Answer those questions.
Answer questions. It may be things that are going to be hard to hear, It may be things you don't want to answer, but that is too bad. You answer them anyway.
If your spouse wants
If
to
your
know.
spouse wants to know and they're asking questions, you be completely upfront, honest, and answer the questions.
Yeah. Number 5, be patient as your partner rebuilds trust. Now, one of the things when you make a mistake in marriage, especially with trust and forgiveness, is a lot of times a spouse or a person thinks they're just going to say they're sorry and everything's going to go back like it was. And that doesn't work that way. It's going to take a while for your partner to rebuild trust and to get over being hurt. There is suspicion, there is distrust. Those things are natural reactions. For a person that's been hurt, that's been lied to, evidence supports this belief that you haven't been trustworthy. So trust can be rebuilt, but it's not going to come quickly. So be patient as your spouse rebuilds that trust in you. So if you're the one that's broken trust in marriage, this is really big, and I'm going to say this twice, okay? Mm-hmm. If you're the one that has broken trust in marriage, in any kind of affair, in pornography, anything like this, you have no right to dictate to your spouse how long it should take them to get over it. I'm going to say that again.
That's right.
If you're the one that's broke trust in marriage, you have no right to dictate to your spouse how long it should take them to get over it. So a month later, you can't be going, you're not over this by now? Why are you not over it? That is not your place. You are the guilty party, not the innocent party. You be patient with them as they rebuild trust.
That's right. For a lot of people, this is on the same level as cheating. I mean, you've had a mental affair, and this is hard for some people to forgive and to move past. And so, yes, you have to be patient.
Yeah.
And you have to rebuild that trust.
And we talked about it on the previous 2 podcast episodes. And if you missed it, you really need to go back and listen. You may be going, well, what's the big deal? I haven't touched anybody. I haven't cheated. But you have made your spouse feel like they are not enough to make you happy sexually. Mm-hmm. They now feel like, I'm not good enough. What's wrong with my body? What's wrong with me sexually? There's a lot of issues that we have talked about that you may be thinking, hey, this is not that big a deal, but it is to them. And if it is to them, then you are going to have to be patient with them as they rebuild trust.
Mm-hmm. So number 6, be open.
Yeah.
Kind of goes right along the lines of being honest, of answering questions, but be open. Don't spend a lot of time on your phone or your computer alone, or it will arouse suspicion. You need to regularly hand your spouse your phone and tell them, you just go right ahead and look at anything you want. Don't delete your history. Don't use private browsing. You let your spouse see that you're being faithful.
Yeah, and that's what being open means. You're proving to your spouse, I'm open with anything I've got. My phone's laying on the table. Feel free to pick it up and look at anything you want to look at.
Exactly.
And so you be open in that way.
Yeah.
If you're going to hide stuff from your spouse, if you're going to tell them I don't want you looking at my phone, you're basically telling them I'm still doing things that I shouldn't.
That's
so
right.
Be open, and that's just a good way to do marriage. Period.
For sure, yes.
Number 7, make your partner feel number 1 again. And this is going to take a little while.
You mentioned some of this a while ago.
Yeah.
The feelings that your spouse is going to have. They're confused. They're thinking, what have I not given them to make them, feel like they need to turn somewhere else for fulfillment? It may this may have made your partner feel like you don't value them, that they lack things, that they're not good enough, that they're not attractive enough.
Their body doesn't look as good.
Yeah, whatever it is, you need to make them feel number 1 again. It's up to you to counteract these feelings that they're having and convince them that they are good enough and that you will not betray them again.
Yeah, that is true. That's a good point. Let's knock these last 3 out. Take an opportunity to refresh your marriage. You be grateful. You be thankful to your spouse that they have decided to forgive you. No matter how angry, petty, or unpredictable they may get, they have shown great love for you and for their marriage and commitment. A great strength of character in choosing to trust you again, to say, I want to give you another chance. So you give your partner some respect and some gratitude for that decision. and appreciate that second chance. We'll talk about in a minute. Both initially, when it takes place and you've come clean, but over the next few weeks, the next few days, the next few months, you come along and tell your spouse, you have been good to me. Thank you for being good to me. You don't go around pouting. You consider what you can do to refresh that relationship. Take your wife on a date. Ask your husband to go out on a date with you. You just do whatever it takes to just kind of put some spark back in there, and we'll talk about that on the next point. But you just make sure your spouse knows that they've been awfully good to you.
That's right.
Yeah.
You might consider reconnecting spiritually.
That's a great point.
We stress the importance of praying together. We believe that is a great way to have spiritual intimacy in your marriage. Read your Bible together. We hope you're worshiping at a church somewhere together. All of those things are going to help you not only to have a stronger intimacy with your spouse, but a better relationship with God to help you overcome these temptations and things that you're facing.
And I would encourage you, I'm not just trying to push it, but I'd encourage you, if that's something you feel like you need to do in connecting spiritually, which would bless your marriage and help you to heal, look at the book Wisdom for Your Marriage.
Absolutely.
It's from the book of Proverbs, and I promise you, we talk about these things in that book. It's 30 days. You do this book over a month time, and I promise you it will bless you and help you guys as y'all are healing and trying to recover from this.
Good idea. Wisdom, man, you can't go wrong getting more wisdom for your marriage.
Wisdom for your marriage.
Right. Number 9, consider taking a break from intimacy to restore the spark. Tell us about Terry Crews.
Yeah, Terry Crews is one of my favorite people in this world. He is an actor in Hollywood. He's on
Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It's been a while since that's been on.
He was on the America's Got Talent.
Yeah, he was the
host.
There
you go, bunch of those.
The host, yeah.
Terry Crews had a bad porn addiction, and he talks very openly about it. And you could probably, he's got some YouTube videos under Terry Crews Fans, 7 videos called My Dirty Little Secret. And it would be worth watching these. But Terry Crews and his wife, when Terry Crews admitted, I have a porn problem, and they started working through this, they agreed together to take a break from intimacy. Now, that may kind of go against what you're thinking, because you may be thinking, well, hey, is this not going to cause my spouse, is that part of the issue that we already had? But the point was we want to appreciate our intimacy again, and we want it to be new and fresh and good in our marriage. And so he talks vividly and openly about they didn't have intimacy. They didn't have sex for 3 months. And they both agreed to this. We're going to go 3 months with no sex, so that when we do come back together, it will be kind of like a honeymoon. It will be kind of like, I get to rediscover who you are, because I have not been with you forever, it seems like. And he talks about what a great thing that was. Now, I'm not saying it has to be 3 months. If you're the spouse that feels like you have been betrayed, you may be going, this ain't never happening again. But I think if you can sit down together with your spouse and talk about this would be a good thing. But consider taking a break to restore that hey, our intimacy was really good, and we need to rediscover that. So let's take a break so that we can reboot it, if that's a good way to do it.
Sure. If you seriously consider doing the book Wisdom for Your Marriage, where you're focusing on the book of Proverbs, and you're reading your Bible together and you're praying, and that's a 31-day study together, that might be a good time frame where you're devoting yourself to your spiritual intimacy, and then at the end of that, you can reconnect.
Yeah.
We talked about 1 Corinthians 7 last week, and it talks about not withholding from each other for very long so that you don't give into temptation. But it also talks about the reason that you might take a little break is to devote yourself to prayer.
Yeah.
And so, that's a good thought there.
It is a good point. And we've done this. And I just thought this would be a good point to put this out. I'm not saying other couples need to do this. But I don't know if you remember, a few years ago, we got ready to go on another honeymoon trip. It was like we always have a big trip on those big, seems like the 30, the 20, and we were celebrating our 30th. And we were about 10 days before we left to go to Cabo, was where we were headed. And I can't even remember, we kind of said, I think we were just a little flirty that day and kind of, because we were excited about Cabo. This is about 10 days out. And we said, hey, let's do something different. Just kind of like back at the honeymoon stuff. Let's avoid sex and intimacy for the next 10 days so that when we get to Cabo, it's just kind of like, man, it's been forever. and I just kind of remember we got to Cabo and it was fun. We couldn't keep our hands off of each other because it had been like, man, this has been forever. It was like we were rediscovering one another because it had been so long since we had connected. And I just remember that was really cool. I don't recommend it. I don't want to do that all the time. But I'm
you don't
just
recommend
saying,
doing it often.
Yeah, I don't recommend to do it often. But it just was really kind of cool for both of us to go, hey, let's make this fun. It'll help lead up to the trip. No sex, no intimacy until we get there.
That's right.
And we got there and it was just kind of like, finally,
Yes.
And that's kind of the idea of this point of taking a break from
Yes.
intimacy.
So check out some of Terry Crews stuff on YouTube. I think that, if you have an addiction that you're trying to overcome, if you can find somebody else that's been through it and get, some pointers from them, some accountability, that kind of thing. But Terry Crews, and he spells it Crews, that'll help you find him. But check out some of that.
Yeah. Okay, last one.
Last one.
Don't do this anymore. That's the point. Don't do it anymore. You've got a second chance. We don't ever know if you're going to get a third chance. Yeah, you just don't do it anymore. Just decide from here on out. No more.
That's right.
I
Cold turkey.
I want to be committed to my marriage.
Yes.
To my spouse, to my husband, to my wife,
To my kids. Yes, all of it.
Yes, and that is a healthy thing. And so these are 10 things that are really good steps in helping you to restore some marriage and some trust in everything else. And so that was good stuff. Next week we're going to come back with a little bit more positive stuff. And we'll let Ranger maybe join us.
Oh, he really wanted to be heard today.
He did. I'm sorry about that. He just kept thinking, who are y'all talking to? But we're glad you joined us. We know this was a tough subject. We know we've done 3 weeks worth of it, but we wanted you to understand that it's just not a little thing that you just ignore. And it needed to be discussed.
That's
and so
right.
we've thrown this out here. A lot of times the episodes that we pick are episodes that just really help us we get a lot of questions on those things. And so we're just kind of pointing those people to now we can say, hey, go listen to this podcast episode.
Yes.
Yep.
There's good resources out there. If you need more than what we've suggested, find you a good book, find you a counselor. Don't let it continue to be a problem. Seek some resources.
Yep, that's exactly right. You guys have an absolutely blessed day. We're honored you joined us. Thank you so much.
See you guys.
Say anything else, man?